everyone. Welcome to our fourth installment of our webinar series. We are UConn KDSAP, or short for Kidney Disease Screening and Awareness Program. As a disclaimer, we are a student-run organization, and we are just informing you about our research on this topic and just making it clear that we are not financial experts. And again, with that, our topic for today is funding your college education. So now we're going to go ahead and start to introduce ourselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Eric and I'm a sophomore from Storrs, Connecticut, double majoring in physiology, neurobiology, and economics.
Hi everyone, my name is Maria. I am a senior this year from Bethel, Connecticut, and I'm a biological sciences major with a neuroscience minor.
Hi, I'm Abby Andrade. I'm a psych sciences major and Spanish minor. I'm a junior and from Seymour, Connecticut. So to get started, how is it that you start to think about funding your education, and what would the first step look like? So Maria, if you want to go ahead and take it away and talk a little bit about the FAFSA.
Of course. All right. So the first thing you want to know about is the FAFSA, or the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. This is the universal form that all prospective students and current college students must fill out every year so that schools can determine whether or not, and also how much you are eligible for federal grants, work study grants, awards, and loans. And so basically what this form asks you about is about your family's income, about any income that you're making, and other financial information that will be used to determine your expected family contribution, or EFC. And so this is a score that determines how much your parents or family can contribute to your education, or it can contribute to supporting you throughout college. And once your application is complete, the FAFSA will generate a student aid report that will get sent out to all the colleges that you specifically select to send to. And remember that you have to choose the colleges you're applying to so that they can receive your information as soon as possible. And I guess the biggest misconception about the FAFSA is that since it's open for such a long period of time between the time it opens and the time it closes, people think that you don't have to worry about it until it's the due date. And this is completely wrong. All the financial aid that each school has to give to its students, a lot of it is first come, first serve. So this means that they literally have these funds set for financial aid, and they distribute those funds out in the order that they receive your information. So if you submit the application on the due date, there's a very high chance that you will not receive as much financial aid as you could have and should have. So yeah, that's a little bit of info and background on the FAFSA. Now we're going to hit some FAFSA frequently asked questions.
So what if my parents aren't from the US? Am I still eligible to receive financial aid?
So the answer is yes, of course, you're still eligible. The FAFSA actually does not ask about your parents' citizenship status. And if they don't have a social security number, you can just put in all zeros as a placeholder.
So do you apply to the FAFSA once, or do you have to apply every year?
So actually, like I said before, the FAFSA is used by current college students, which means that you do need to reapply every single year. And the way it works is that for every year you want financial aid, you need to apply the year beforehand. So for example, let's say I want to receive financial aid for fall 2022 to the spring 2023, I would have to fill out my FAFSA again, fall 2021.
What is a FSA ID? Do both my parents and I need one?
So the FSA ID is your digital signature and will be used to access your FAFSA every single year. And if you are a dependent, then your parents will also need to create a separate FSA ID so that they can also sign your FAFSA. And one FSA ID can be shared among two parents, so only one parent has to create an FSA ID. And in order to create one, all you got to do is just go to that website that's hyperlinked right there.
So what if I don't have my college list finalized, or I'm not sure if I'm going to attend college at all? Do I need to wait to apply?
So actually, FAFSA lets you edit, so you can add or delete any schools you want at any time. So you do not need to have a finalized list when you first apply. I know most students, this opens on October 1st, so most students don't even have a finalized school list. But again, filling out your FAFSA does not hurt you or count against you in any single way. So if you are still unsure about college, my advice would be to go ahead, fill that out anyways, because again, the earlier you apply, the more financial aid you might be able to get. Yeah, so definitely apply as soon as you can.
How do I know whether I'm an independent or a dependent student?
So, and this is actually another misconception, whether you are dependent or independent differs from the definition that the IRS has versus FAFSA. So according to FAFSA, you are a dependent student if you hit all of these three requirements. You are under 24 years old, you are not married, and you are not in the military.
And what tax information do I need? And what if I or my parents didn't file taxes?
So that is completely okay. You will need your 2019 tax information, so like your W-2s to track how much income you made that year in 2019. But if you're, for some reason, you and your parents did not fill out taxes because they didn't need to file taxes because they made under the certain amount of limit or something like that, you simply can just choose not going to file when they ask that question, and they'll proceed with more questions. All right, so now that we're all done with questions, we're going to just talk about some deadlines. And again, for FAFSA, or even for most schools, the FAFSA deadline is February 15th. That's the last day you can fill it out to get financial aid. But again, apply as soon as you can. It opens October 1st, 2020. Right now, it is currently October 3rd, 2020. So it's been open for 2 days. And again, you need to complete as soon as possible, like today. And the application for like the state is February 15th for Connecticut. And in terms of like the federal, it's June 30th. But again, for most schools, it's February 15th. So you need to hit that deadline and complete it as soon as possible. All right, so you might be, we just threw a bunch of information out at you, answered some questions, but you're still wondering what is the first step. So to be very clear, the first step is you need to go ahead and create an FSA ID for yourself if you haven't already. The link is right there. It's fsaid.ed.gov, and you will need the following information. So you need your social security number, your birthday, and your full name because it's a government application. And the next step is for your parent to create an FSA ID, which is the same exact steps as before. You go to the same exact website and need the same exact information. And if for some reason they do not have a social security number, what will happen is you can, like I said before, you just put in all zeros for that question. But they won't be able to create an FSA ID. So what happens is once you fill out your application and it spits out the student aid report, you can print out that student aid report and have them physically sign it. And what you will have to do is just send it back through the mail. And then the third step is to save your FSA IDs. You will need these for every single year that you reapply. And I know I tend to forget my passwords and usernames, so you need to keep this information, sensitive information, somewhere safe that you will be able to access every single year. All right, so now we're just going to talk about the types of financial aid that you can receive once your FAFSA is all filled out, and just go into a little bit more about your financial aid package.
So there are 3 basic types of federal student aid, and the order they're in on this screen is kind of the order that you want to approach them in. With grants and scholarships first, because that's free money, you don't have to pay anything back, you're not borrowing anything, it's just kind of given to you based on merit or financial need. The second is loans, which is borrowed money. So they are an investment in your future, but you do have to pay them back, oftentimes with high levels of interest. This is where a lot of student debt comes into play. And finally, earned money through a work-study program, which is the federal version, or you can also work to student labor or work off campus, and we'll talk about all of this in more detail. So in terms of federal loans, there are 2 types, subsidized and unsubsidized. I know I had a lot of trouble differentiating between the 2, so we're going to go over them now. With subsidized loans, they're financially needs-based. You can apply for them for your undergraduate career, and there's no interest while you're in school during this grace period. So what you take out is what you're going to owe by the end of your college career, although interest will start to grow after that. In unsubsidized loans, you can qualify even without a large financial need. You can apply for them for your undergraduate or graduate education if you choose to pursue that. And however, interest does grow while you're in school. So the amount of money that you apply for, you're going to owe more than that by the end of your career. So loan limits for subsidized and unsubsidized loans, you can take out $5,500 in total for your first year if you're a dependent student, as Maria defined earlier, or $8,500 for the first year if you're an independent student. And it breaks down to $3,500 subsidized, $2,000 unsubsidized if you're a dependent student, and $3,500 subsidized, $6,000 unsubsidized if you're an independent student. And this number will increase every year, whether you're dependent or independent. And a tip to remember, subsidized versus unsubsidized, is unsubsidized starts with you, meaning you begin gaining interest right away. And then a specific type of a unsubsidized loan is a parent plus loan. And this is where your parent or guardian can apply to help the student pay for college. But it's really important that the parent or guardian has a good credit score to receive this loan. And again, it is unsubsidized. And that brings us to private loans. Really, you're going to want to try to exhaust every other option first before you get to private loans, because private loans have very high interest rates, and this is where a lot of student debt comes from. So how do you apply for it? You're going to apply for private loans, unlike federal loans, once you know exactly where you're going and the exact number of how much you need to borrow. So to receive a private loan, either you need a good credit score or your parent or guardian does. And some important information that you need for the form would be your social security number, phone number, address, income levels, value of assets, and the amount of money that you'll need to take out again, as well as your tax information. And most of this can be done online on websites, or you can go to your bank, because a lot of these private loans are through banks, and you can get the paperwork there. And some examples of private loan companies are Citizens Bank, Discover, and Sallie Mae.
All right, so another type of financial aid that you may see on your aid package is called the federal Pell Grant. So in case you don't know, grant means free money. So what this means is it's a set amount of money that you do not have to pay back and does not gain any interest at all whatsoever, and is based on your FAFSA score and a bunch of other factors, such as whether you are part-time versus full-time, the cost of attendance at your respective school, and if you plan to attend college for the full academic year or only one semester. And the maximum amount of Pell Grant that one can receive in terms of 2019 information was $6,345, but this does change every year, but not very significantly. So this is the one that you definitely want because it's free money.
So other places to find free money or scholarships, so scholarship and grants are somewhat interchangeable, but they're both free money. Definitely talk to your guidance counselor. You know, your guidance counselors have helped many students, so they'll know where to find a lot of the scholarships that students have been successful in earning in the past. You can also look at scholarship websites like KPEX down here. But when you're looking at scholarship websites, be careful not to fall for scams. You know, and a good indicator of a scam is when you're applying to a scholarship, you shouldn't have to enter in your credit card or banking information. It should all be free. Besides that, you can go to local businesses, to your workplace or your parent workplace, because many businesses have scholarships that they like to offer, especially to worker students. And then again, some university-specific scholarships, and UConn has several that we're going to talk about later on. And these are some of the scholarship resources, some websites that you can check out, like KPEX, as I mentioned earlier, the College Board, and Career One Stop. And scholarships are great because there are some of them are very general and anyone can apply to, but some are also really specific, and you might find ones that really apply well to your circumstance and experience.
Another great scholarship opportunity is the PSAT. So many of you might have heard of the SAT, but the PSAT is a test you'll take before that called the preliminary SAT. It's easy not to take this one seriously, but it is very important because there is a program called the National Merit Program. And basically what happens is they select from the pool of the around the 1.5 million high school students that take it their junior year. And then they narrow it down to around 7,000 winners, and those winners receive a merit-based scholarship. This is just a timeline similar to the image from the last slide. It shows sort of the rough number of recipients and students for each level as it gets more and more competitive. And as you can see, around 7,000 merit scholarship winners are awarded $2,500. So in addition to the National Merit Scholarship, there are also specific PSAT scholarships for students that identify as African American, Hispanic, Latinx, Indigenous, or attend school in a rural area or a small town. So this again requires you to take the PSAT your junior year, and you need to achieve the minimum score that they set each year, and also differs by state. And in addition to that, you need to earn a cumulative GPA of 3.5 or higher by the middle of your junior year.
So the biggest takeaway from this is that you need to take your PSAT very seriously. I know that when I was in high school, I did not understand that the PSAT would determine so much of my aid later on, or that I would be eligible for these scholarships later on. So you might think that the SAT is, the SAT is definitely important, but the PSAT could also, be a determining factor about whether you're able to afford college in the future. So definitely take that seriously.
So now we're going to talk about some scholarships that are specific to UConn. The first one is the Connecticut Commitment. This is a program in which Connecticut residents with a household income of $50,000 or less are eligible to receive free tuition at the University of Connecticut. As Maria mentioned, it is really important to fill out your FAFSA on time for the deadline of February 15th. And besides the FAFSA, there's no additional application. Any first-year student or transfer student is automatically considered for this award. The UConn Presidential Scholars Award is for students who attend high school in the state of Connecticut and rank either number 1 or number 2 in their graduating class. They'll automatically be considered for the Presidential Scholars Award. And this is a merit-based scholarship that renews every year that you're at the University of Connecticut. And in addition to that, there's a one-time $2,500 enrichment award that you can use towards any academic goal.
All right, so now if you're wondering what kind of additional scholarships you can also get while applying into UConn, I'm going to talk about some of the programs that are offered here. So the first one that I am personally a part of is called the Rose Scholars Program. So this is a program for underrepresented minority students that are pursuing a career in healthcare, and they will give you a scholarship of $8,000 over the course of 4 years. So that is $1,000 per semester. And what they also give you is called a book award in the amount of $500 for every semester, so that you can use to fund any school materials that you may need, which is something that a lot of students worry about when coming to college. And another benefit to the program is that you can apply for assistance or enrichment activities, such as research, professional development opportunities, and even opportunities abroad that can relate back to healthcare or will essentially advance your career goals. So through this way, I've actually been able to attend my mission trips abroad, and I've applied to present at research conferences that, cost money for like plane tickets, the registration fee, things like that. And the one thing is that for the Rose Scholars Program, you do need to be invited into it. So there is like no formal way of applying. But I believe that if you indicate on your Common App that you plan to, pursue healthcare, are from an underrepresented minority, and have done things in your high school career that relate back to healthcare. For example, I volunteered at my local hospital. That's how you would get considered for the program. And the second program here at UConn is called the STEM Scholars Program. So this is for students who have indicated that they are pursuing a major in the STEM field. And this is a merit scholarship, so you do need to have a high school school academic average, and the scholarship comes with an invitation to the honors program, and this is the same thing for the Rose Scholars Program as well. And you receive a set amount of money from the STEM scholarship every year, if you complete the requirements, which you can find out more about by clicking on the link and exploring their program. And in terms of scholarships while you're at UConn as an undergraduate, you can find that most schools within UConn have a set amount of scholarships for the majors that they specifically house. So the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences is where you can find majors such as, all the bio majors, psychology, chemistry, math majors, and there's tons more. It's a huge college. So you can apply every single year for scholarships that they specifically have if you're part of that major. And the same goes for the School of Engineering and the business school. So don't think that your road to your financial aid is totally dependent on your FAFSA. You can always apply for more, even while you're in college.
Yeah, and be sure to look at your specific college that you end up going to, not just UConn, because every university has college-specific scholarships, some of which you can get by just applying to the university in general, and you're automatically enrolled in that application, and some that have deadlines as early as November and December of your senior year.
Another great way to pay for your education is ROTC, or Reserve Officers Training Corps. Many colleges across the country offer this program, and essentially you receive tuition assistance for your undergraduate career, and in exchange you agree to serve in the military for 4 years after you graduate. So ROTC offers 2, 3, and 4-year college scholarships, meaning that you can apply in the middle of your undergraduate career, and they offer tuition assistance and full tuition scholarships. In addition, they also give allowances up to $420 per month for every academic school year. And depending on the school, all the branches of the military may be offered. For example, there may be an Air Force ROTC. There may also be an Army ROTC. So that's something that you'll have to see at your respective school. Just some requirements. You need to be a U.S. citizen between the ages of 17 and 26. You need to have a GPA of at least 2.5 from high school, and at least a minimum of 1,000 or on the SAT or 90 on the ACT. And you need to meet the physical standards they have. And as I mentioned before, you need to agree to serve in the Army on active duty or in some sort of reserve component after you graduate. So as I mentioned, the commitment is full-time service in the Army or whichever military branch you decide to work for. And after that, you can choose to serve part-time in the Army Reserve while you pursue a regular civilian career as well. So now Maria is going to talk about the difference between work study and student labor.
All right, so I'm going to begin by talking about work study. So this is something that is offered in your financial aid package and that on the FAFSA you must check off. So it will ask you, do you want to be considered for work study? And you should definitely put yes, so that you can be considered by your respective school. And in terms of what it is, it's a set amount of money that goes directly towards your tuition. And the way it works at UConn, and I'm sure at most universities, is that it is automatically applied to your fee bill and will be discounted from your tuition. And you essentially just work amount of hours that will equal the amount of money that you are set for according to your financial aid package. And the formula for that is you take the amount of award that you received and you divide it by your pay rate according to what your job is. And that's how you get the total number of hours that you must work in order to gain back all this money. And then you take that number, the total number of hours worked, and you divide it by the number of weeks that you have in your semester or your academic year, or the amount of weeks that you're available to work. And that's how you can get the amount of hours that you must work every week in order to secure this money. So this is a really great way to work and at the same time be able to put money towards your tuition. And now Abby is going to talk about what student labor specifically is.
So if you don't qualify for work study, another option is to do student labor on campus. And there are many different jobs that you can do that qualify as student labor. You can work in cafes and dining halls, do administrative work. You can be a resident assistant, which is a job that I currently have, taking care of the students on your floor and helping them out in the events of emergencies, or if they just want to talk and get advice. You can work in a mailroom, the library. You can be a teaching assistant or a tutor, a research assistant, or even a tour guide. So there are a lot of options on campus, even if you don't qualify for a work-study program. And besides that, you can also find jobs off campus if you have access to a car or some sort of transportation.
And you can always find jobs as well that relate back to healthcare. I know at UConn we have student health and wellness, which is like our clinic where students go if they're sick and need healthcare. And you can also find other ways to enrich their healthcare experience so that you can later on apply to medical school or any other school that you want to go to.
So how do you go about finding these jobs? At UConn, you can follow this link here and go to the website, and you can search for a job specific to your interests and the hours that you can put in. So you would go through, select which campus you're on, and if you qualified for a work-study program, you would put work-study, or otherwise you could choose student labor. And then beyond that, you can filter it based on your interests, or the hours you can work, the wage you're willing to work for, and new jobs are always popping up, so be sure to keep checking, even if you don't see something that would work for you right away. And basically, you would apply here, you would go to your interview, and then you would just go ahead and start working.
So now I'm going to be talking about some Connecticut financial opportunities that are available specifically in Connecticut. So the first one is called PACT. This is Connecticut's program for free community college. Essentially, to be eligible, you need to be a Connecticut high school graduate, or you can also be homeschooled in the state of Connecticut or hold a GED. And you need to enroll at a community college for the first time as a full-time student, which is 12 or more credits a semester. As Maria mentioned earlier, you need to apply for FAFSA as well using the FAFSA application. And once you're enrolled, you need to remain in good academic standing. And there are 13 eligible community colleges, as you can see on the map. And as long as you enroll, you are automatically eligible for this program. The New Haven Promise is a program specific for New Haven residents or those students that attend New Haven public schools or a charter school in the city of New Haven. This requires positive disciplinary record during their high school career, 40 hours of community service over those 4 years, attendance record of 90% or better, and a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or higher. And for those who graduate from the New Haven schools and attend a Connecticut public 2 or 4 year college, this program gives tuition assistance for all those who meet the previously said requirements. Another great way to save money in the state of Connecticut is to take some of your general education courses at community colleges. Many public schools in Connecticut will accept these community college credits. This depends on each school, so you'll have to see what the credit equivalencies are on their websites. But this is a really great strategy, and it can end up saving you hundreds of dollars because the same classes are much cheaper at community colleges, and they're worth the same as taking the class normally on campus.
So now that you've received your financial aid package, you might be thinking, is this the end? Is this all I can do? And Eric's now going to talk about what can you do to maximize your aid once you've received your financial aid package.
So while financial aid might seem like a set number, it is possible to negotiate your financial aid. The most important thing to remember is that in the end, you're communicating with a person on the other end. So most likely a financial aid officer. And as they are a person, it's important to be polite and to be aware that you are trying to convince someone who totally understands what you're going through, but they are dealing with hundreds of cases like this. So it's important to be polite and respectful. Really great strategy is to provide a specific number for the financial aid office instead of saying, I just want more. Giving them a set amount of money makes it so that they can actually do the calculations and see if they're able to give you that extra bit of money. In addition to that, being transparent about your financial needs is really important. So saying exactly how much you need or saying why you need that, such as extenuating family circumstances, is really important. In the case that you apply to several schools and receive financial aid packages from many schools, you can also sort of leverage your financial aid packages from one school to another and show one school the financial aid package you received at another to sort of convince them to give you more to make their offer more competitive. And lastly, it's always important to show documented evidence. So, for example, if you experience a change in your financial situation or you drastically improve your academic performance and you feel that deserves extra financial aid, that it's important to show that in documented evidence to the financial aid office so that they can consider it and decide what to do about your financial aid.
So this is a great chart with, some of the changes or circumstances that you have that might help convince a financial aid worker to give you more money, including childcare expenses, additional books and supplies, or rental or mortgage expenses that you might not have expressed earlier. Another big thing, especially right now, you can talk about COVID and if your need has changed because of something that's happened because of the pandemic. So definitely use what you have and let them know, because you never know. It's worth it to ask. So that concludes this webinar. Here's some of our contact information, and please fill out our feedback form. Let us know what we can do to improve. And if you have any questions, you can also fill them out via this form. Here's our email, website, and social media.
And be sure to keep constantly checking our website for any changes to the dates, the time, or the WebEx link to join our webinars. And thank you so much for listening and coming to our webinar.